I had this vision of all the rookies checking in over there at Hard Rock Stadium and shaking hands and talking to coaches, bringing their stuff, going through the physical, and wondering what is going to happen going forward. Am I going to make the team? You're always thinking about that. How do I match up with everybody else? Could I be a practice squad guy if nothing else, which all obviously opens up a lot of other jobs as well. Kyle Crabbs, host of Locked On Fins and A to Z Sports NFL analyst, joins us. Kyle, good morning. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Back to school today, huh?
Yeah, back to school. But I got to tell you, man, I can never remember in all my years since getting drafted here, and I've been here since 1980, never remember a better opportunity in every scenario possible for a draft class and rookie free agents, 24, 25, the whole group there, of having a great opportunity to make the 53-man roster as this group has, considering what has happened to this team in the last 6 or 7 months.
Well, absolutely. It's wide open. You know, there's you look at a handful of positions and a handful of names that have either, you know, holdovers from the last regime that were high draft picks, and even those guys, you know, I think there's less guaranteed to them than the guys that got a big vote of confidence with a new contract. And I think Malik Willis, Aaron Brewer, Devon Achane, like those big contracts, yeah, those guys are kind of the keystones of what you're building with. But everything else is, you know, the guys in this draft class, probably they're going to want to see them play because they pick them with their vision for what they want this to look like. And that's going to provide them with a lot of opportunity, but nothing's guaranteed. You know, these guys probably have some edges if they were brought in by this staff as compared to holdovers for a lot of those spots. But it's going to be an exciting stretch for figuring out what this is going to look like because there's so many spots, Joe, that you could look and say, hey, there's 2, 3, 4 guys that I can see playing.
Yeah, I agree. In some cases, we got guys with zero experience playing against guys with zero experience. I mean, like, oh, you played a little bit on special teams. I haven't played at all. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy one. So I want to get into this one last time with you, and I swear I'm done. And there's going to be articles, and again, our guys got to do articles and fill out till, you know, we get into camp, and then there'll be a lot of great stories on different positions and competitions and everything else. In my opinion, this team got to try to win. That 2019 thing should never, ever happen again. Going back to what happened and what we won, went 5-4 in the last 9 games that year, and with the whole thing with Brian Flores, and you know, everybody was mad we didn't either. We should have sucked, and we started 0-7. We were on our way to getting the first. I hate that. I don't like it. It didn't work then, and in my opinion, it didn't work because you don't get the right guys anyway. You try to win, you develop, and you play your best players, right? You want to learn guys to compete and try to win every game. Are you on that, or are you already thinking about a quarterback or wide receiver for next year?
No, I'm not thinking about any of that because you look at the prize from that year's draft class. Joe Burrow, Bengals have missed the playoffs the last 3 seasons. So as good as Joe Burrow is, if you don't build the whole thing right, regardless, it doesn't matter. So I think that's the biggest thing. And how many times we got to look up and down the hierarchy of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and how many of them were drafted first overall versus a team that made the playoffs in Kansas City that trades up. Buffalo, you know, gets Josh Allen at 7th overall. Lamar Jackson goes at 32 overall. There's all these examples where if you're just focused on building a very strong, fundamentally sound core of your football operation, a lot of these problems are going to take care of themselves. And that's what I'm worried about. And you can find good players every single year. You can find good quarterbacks that aren't the first quarterback taken because so much of that is about the fit with the player and the system and the talent around him as much as it is, hey, is this guy physically gifted enough and how well does he read coverages when he comes into the league? Because with the right guy, with the right coaches around him, that stuff can grow and develop. And we just unfortunately haven't seen that take place in South Florida in a while. So that's, I think, where a lot of the eagerness is that, hey, we got to get the first pick because it can't miss. Well, not necessarily.
I agree. I'm with you. Hey, the other part of this, I got asked this yesterday. Jon-Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley, your general manager and head coach, you got to give them some time on this. I mean, I think we've done a good job trying to educate everybody on what has happened here and this disaster that we're trying to clean up right now. Those guys are going to need some time on this, right? We can't, after year one, we got to get rid of this guy. I know he couldn't coach. I knew he could. They're going to need some time. And by the way, when you haven't been in the playoffs in 26 years, it's hard to ask a fan base to be patient.
Yeah, you cannot ask Jeff Hafley and Jon-Eric Sullivan to pay for the sins of Cam Cameron and Nick Saban and Tony Sperano and Adam Gase and who am I forgetting there?
I don't know. You're on a roll there, man. You're covering 26 years. Man, that was good. You covered Jeff 26 Ireland, years. Yeah.
Dennis Hickey, Mike Tannenbaum, like the list goes on and on. Right? You can't. You got to just. Yeah. This has to be square one with these guys, and I think everybody has an understanding. 60% of your salary cap allotment is the players no longer on the team. You're trying to compete and build this thing up, but you are exceptionally limited to a degree in which we've almost never seen in the NFL before. So it's a very unique set of circumstances.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like this with this team.
Important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to ask you, Malik Willis, somebody had an article, and you see all these articles. He's a one and done here, and he won't work out, and we'll get a new guy next year and all this stuff. What does Malik Willis need to do, considering what he has around him? He has potentially a good offensive line if everything goes right. I think it could be improved, especially with a first-round pick in there. But for you, Malik Willis, does he have enough to show that he can be the quarterback of the future?
I certainly think you can evaluate a player in a vacuum. It's just harder if you have all of the questions around the cast that maybe we do with the passing game. But somebody's going to step up and catch a football and have chemistry with him, right? And
yes, I agree with
Greg
that.
Dulcich or Malik Washington or one of the rookies or Jalen Tolbert or whoever it is, there's going to be a guy that probably puts up 750 receiving yards that's never put that kind of number up before. There's probably going to be somebody else that's putting up 650 yards that never put that kind of number up before. The volume is probably going to get you to respectable numbers for some guys. And that's a whole other separate conversation about, well, did he do that because of the situation or because of his talent level? For Malik, control what you can control, make good decisions with the football, protect yourself when you run, but we want you to use your legs and let that be a weapon and part of your game. Stay healthy all season and let the natural physical ability that he has show. And if he's able to protect the football, not make unforced errors, orchestrate the offense, stay healthy, I think that's all you can ask of him. And based on how they've talked about him, I think that would be considered really strong progress in trying to build around him. But again, if they end up with a very high draft pick and all of those things happen and they fall in love with a quarterback, I wouldn't blame them if they did draft a quarterback, because Malik is on a 3-year deal with 2 years of guaranteed salary. So you give that goes back to that whole talking point about competition in the quarterback room and wow, they didn't do it this year because they didn't draft anybody. Like, I think that's probably a multi-year process to get to that point. So I would say anything and everything is on the table, but the best you can ask for Malik Willis is you don't put the ball in harm's way. You are clean with your operation of the offense. You're a good leader, and the dual threat and physical ability that you have shows up every single week.
Yeah.
If those things happen, that's what I'm hoping for Malik Willis.
Everybody's been talking about Dolphins don't have a 1 or a 2, a number 1 receiver or a number 2 receiver. If that's the case, how difficult is it going to be? Because, listen, we kind of know what 1s and 2s look like. We just had it for a little while. What a top-notch number 1 looks like and a top-notch number 2 in Waddle.
Yeah, I think what that looks like is more pure progression-based passing. There's that, and that's part of the evaluation for Malik Willis. If you don't have a number 1 that you're going to automatically set as your number 1 primary and the first read in all of your progressions, you take your snap and you diagnose the shift in the shell of the defense, and you say, okay, I think they're playing this coverage based on this movement. Is the primary, in theory, going to be there? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, you throw the ball. If the answer is no, you work, and eventually you'll find space, whether that's a whole bunch of checkdowns to stay on schedule, which might be a boring way to play football, but you can only cover so much grass on defense if you're playing zone coverage. So that's where, and I don't think you're going to get a lot of man. You might get it some weeks depending on what the team has from a pass rush perspective, but you don't want to play a lot of man coverage against Malik Willis and have all these guys in the back seven turning their back to the quarterback.
I agree.
So I think you'll see pure progression based, and I think it'll be very even as far as the distribution of the football if you don't have a guy. And I don't think having a guy that has to get 170 targets every single year is the worst thing in the world, as long as you are able to operate the progressions as the offense as the quarterback.
Are you worried about I'm bouncing on you here early because we've still got a week before the veterans get to camp here. Are you worried about pass rush overall and those numbers looking as far as sacks and hits on the quarterback and pressures not being there? Or can they get creative enough to cover up for it if they don't have pure talent at those positions, especially on the outside?
I think there's a few spots that are going to be really important to determining that, because we do want to be, we've heard Jeff Hafley talk about how we do want to be multiple with our fronts. We want to present a bunch of different things, force quarterbacks to process after the snap. I think you have to have somebody that blurs the lines between whether you are in a 3-4 or a 4-3 under, from a structure standpoint, as far as who we blocking, who's actually coming, who are the threats. That's where I think Jeff Hafley's scheme ability is going to have to show up a little bit for Miami, because I don't necessarily look at this group. Now, if you tell me we're in 3rd and 12 and we got speedy, twitchy guys like Chop Robinson and Josh Uche on the edge, like, I think that's a great situation. That's the best situation for those guys based off what they've shown as NFL players. And I think the defensive tackles will be a year better because 3 of the 4 top guys are all second-year players this year. So if you can get into those really advantageous situations, I think they're physically capable of being very disruptive. But as far as your 1st and 10 stuff, your 3rd and 6, when you got to be kept a little bit more modest, that's where I think some of that weight, I think, is going to have to shift to Jeff Hafley this season.
Yeah, it's this whole thing is going to be fun to watch, and as I said, it just looks so open at so many different positions. Jacob Rodriguez and Dotson. Dotson, by the way, is kind of the guy we talk so much about. Jordan Brooks, we don't talk. I thought Dotson was really good. I know he missed a little bit of time, not much, but a little bit, missed a game or two. But boy, together those guys had a ton of tackles. And Dotson's a vocal one. He's the one that screams out what's going on, and he gets after it. They drafted the best guy, Jacob Rodriguez, a really good player. How do they how we get playing time for everybody to keep everybody happy back there?
I don't know that you do. I think that's one of the challenges with the depth chart, where you look at all these positions and you're like, we have unproven players for depth. We don't know what the ceiling is of the starters. You look at the linebackers, that room's looking really nice right now. And I don't envy trying to sort out between Jacob Rodriguez, who you just know they want to get on the field, and what Tyrel Dotson was last year. But I think those 2 guys probably are going to be competing for playing time throughout camp. And it's a matter of how quickly Jacob Rodriguez picks up some of the vocal stuff, or alternatively, do they find somebody else to wear the green dot, whether that's Jordan Brooks?
Yeah.
Is that one of the safeties, or they put it a little bit further back? Like, if that happens, I think that even more opens the door for Jacob to seize playing time early. And that goes back to the first thing we talked about, guys that were brought in from this regime. I mean, Tyrel Dotson, I think, is a sufficient level starting linebacker in the NFL. If you took all the linebackers across the league and put them in a bucket, if you told me he was a starter, I'd be like, okay, he's got things that he can work with, and he's got strengths that we can use to help us be a better defense.
Dulcet.
This group brought him in. This group brought in Jacob Rodriguez. So I think if all things were equal, they would want to see Jacob play, because he's not in a contract year and a veteran. He's a rookie on a rookie contract.
I'll leave you with this one. Just from what you've seen, every time I'm out there, he caught a zillion footballs. Greg Dulcich. And when a quarterback, by the way, likes to throw to you, they throw to you. No matter what goes on, they're going to be looking as you get in 11 on 11 and 7 on 7 because they trust you. I think Greg Dulcich is going to have a big, I'm not saying 1,000 yards, but I can see him 70-plus catches. How about you?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think he's got a great chance to be the leading receiver on the team this year. Every time I see Malik on social and he's posting the clips, or his quarterback coach, his private quarterbacks coach, Sean McAvoy, is posting clips on social media of their workout sessions. You know who's always there? Greg Dulcich. Like they're getting a lot of reps.
Yeah.
So they had chemistry in the spring. They've been continuing to work together in the summer. Greg was, I think, excellent in the back half of the season last year with what the offense was. I think he's my leader in the clubhouse for who ends up being the leading receiver on this football team.
That's a good way to leave it. That's a good teaser for the week. Next time we talk, we'll be talking about the veterans.